All right. Where am I? Here I am. If I can zoom in there a little bit. You know, I was watching with trepidation the timer counting down because I was trying to stuff a chocolate croissant in my mouth and beat the timer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a professional. Well, welcome. Hope everyone's week is going well. Sorry I didn't get out a stream yesterday, though. I did accomplish some stuff. I try to I'm trying to get better about accomplishing stuff. Maybe not everything that I want, but something. In any case, Free League has also accomplished a bunch of stuff, and this one, and thanks to them for sending to me. And I forgot when I'm scheduling it, I don't have a chance to go into the YouTube thing. I will mark it as promotional, as they did send me a free digital copy of the book. But of course, since I don't know what I'm going to say about it, and I haven't peeked at it until now, they certainly don't have any say about it. And the timing is good. Well, the timing's always good for stuff. But what I was going to say is that when last we left Dragonbane and I had done some solo playthrough of Dragonbane, which I enjoyed, but the one thing that I remember thinking of is, man, could use some beasts. Like, I think I remember we were using some oracles and things to generate some challenges. And I remember running into that a little bit for me anyway, of kind of, I'm gonna say a block, but there was just not a bunch of, I know there were some monsters I think in the box set in the book, but I thought I could use some more. Or at least for me, because I'm not adept at some say it's like taking a stat block from BX and switching it over to Dragon Maid. But our prayers have been answered. If you've been looking for more monsters and beasts and various baddies and creatures for your Dragon Maid campaign, well, they've got you covered. Let's just swing on in there and see what we've got going on. Oops, that might help. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we got it split into some chapters, and I'm just going to take a swig of just cool, refreshing ice water for the working man. Wash some of the last of that croissant out of my mouth. Let's see. Okay, so we have Nightkin is chapter one, which seems to include stuff like goblins, hobgoblins, ogres, and orcs. It's a cool name, Nightkin. Different from Goblinoid, how it usually shows up. I like it. I was gonna say maybe kins. Everything's gonna be kins because the next chapter is rare kin, but then after that, no more kins. Okay, so we have Nightkin. Then we have rarekin, which includes, let's see, cat people, centaurs, fairies, frog people, harpies, Harkions. I'm not sure what that is. We'll have to check that out. Lizard people, mermaids, minotaurs, naiads, satyrs, swan maidens, and treekin. Then after that, we've got insectoids, ant people, beetlekin, and spiderkin. Ooh, those should be cool. Trolls get their own chapter, interestingly enough. So you have cave trolls, forest trolls, and mountain trolls. I guess given the what would we say here? Scandinavian origins of, I guess, Free League, right? It makes sense. I mean, I've watched those movies like Troll, and very cool, by the way. I kind of wish we got more stuff like that. Maybe there are more. Maybe I need to find like Swedish and Norwegian localized Netflix or something and just get my fill of all those kinds of movies and shows. We get three types of trolls, and they get their own chapter. Then giants get their own chapter with forest giants, mountain giants, sea giants, and then titans. Then we get some actual beasts. Chapter 6, basilisks, brook horses, calydons, chimeras, giant amoebas, giant octopi, giant spiders, giant, or saying giant, griffins, hippogriffs, hydras, manticores, medusas, pegasi, rocks, sea serpents, werewolves, and wargs. And then undead, ghoul, ghosts, ghouls, living dead. I'll have to say all that. What is living dead in particular? We'll get there, hopefully. Mummies, skeletons, vampires, wights, and will o' the wisps. I don't usually think of will o' the wisps on that stuff. I always think of them as kind of face, so that'll be kind of cool. And it looks like these are all linked, which is very nice. And I did notice that they had the PDF was bookmarked, or had all the bookmarks, so you could, in at least in this, well, I'm guessing in Acrobat, however you open up the panel that has the table contents, it's all in there. Also, I just don't keep it open for just sort of display purposes. Trying to keep it pretty. Then we have a whole chapter on dragons, hatchlings, young dragons, adult dragons, ancient dragons, and lindworms. And then finally, demons, blood demons, chaos demons, fire demons, golems. Ooh, as a type of demon, guardian demons, and shadow demons. Hey, Ian. Ian says Dragonbane is on their short list, their to play short list. I really enjoyed the solo play. It's one of those things I keep saying I want to try to do more of, and I do. I probably will be saying this in September of this year, if, assuming I'm still here and everything's going well. Knock on wood. I want to do more of this, but yes, I would like to do more, get some kind of group plays of different systems. I did enjoy the solo play pretty much, and I really like what they did with giving the sort of a solo play scenario that you're exploring. Maybe a little bit more limited if folks are used to kind of having a whole open world solo play, but I thought the focus allowed them to really give tools that could really help flesh out that kind of campaign without having to do like a whole Bible of here's the whole world. All right, we got some a preface here, some notes on using the book. Let's see. So basically, I'm just going to read the part that says it's also intended for the players, so not just for GMs. It looks like they're going to have stuff kind of GM information, but also for players. Chapters 1 and 2 contain a total of 9 new playable kin. Okay, that's why they call it kin. So I guess the kins maybe are ones that you can, or things that you can play, or playable species, I guess. Each with a unique innate ability, which can also be used by NPCs. All playable kin are listed in the adjacent table, which replaces the table on page 9 in the rulebook if you want to randomly select your character's kin. All right, cool. So yeah, you can be a human, halfling, dwarf, elf, mallard. Remember, those are the duck folk. Wolfkin, orc, ogre, goblin, hobgoblin, a frog person, a carcion, which I still don't know what that is, but it looks like some kind of bird thing, a cat person, a lizard person, or a satyr. So actually, you can't be a tree kin. Even though they're listed as kin, you can't. Deathcap Stories says Dragonbane's been on their list of games to check out. Well, I would say, check it out. I mean, I like I said, I really like the solo campaign. I had a lot of fun with it. I really like that tool set. That's about all I can speak of in terms of actually playing it. But that was actually really good. And so many people play solo nowadays. I feel like it's not kind of faint praise. It's like, well, I enjoyed it solo. I did. And it's, the free league stuff. I don't. I feel like I come across probably some kind of free league shill, but I haven't run across anything of theirs that isn't well laid out. Seems to be well put together, well written. They've got a solid core set of rules that they will add things. They'll tweak a little bit of this, a little bit of this, tweak a little bit of that, but they're able to kind of take this core engine they have and sort of fit it to these different things. I haven't seen anything kind of come out badly from just a quality of physical pieces, though. I have the Dragonbane box set, but not nearby. I don't think I have the separate rule book, or I might, but it might be somewhere else. But anyway, all their stuff physically looks really good if you got it physically. The PDFs are PDFs, but okay, Nightkin. Let's see. I call them the Nightkin, or the kin of the night. These people who are uncomfortable in the sun and therefore laden with a heavy burden. Almost everyone else regard them as servants of darkness and minions of evil. For Asimor has recounted the feuds between his people and the Nightkin around many a campfire. And I myself can easily list numerous battles between elves and orcs, between humans and goblins. But even long ago, when I spoke with the orc Garbaduk, an odd sort of knowledge seeker who has since gained some recognition among scholars of other kin, I thought I glimpsed a different truth about this kin. He maintained that the Nightkin have always had to struggle to be seen as equals by others, that they really want nothing more than to live in peace. He told of heroes who defended their clans from oppression, of warriors who banished wights and ghosts, and thus secured a brighter future for their suffering people. Well, cool stuff. So, they're saying, hey, you don't have to treat these guys like, just some muckety mucks. High muckety muck, somebody good, or just some kind of, minions fodder, whatnot, right? They got more to them. If you cut them, do they not bleed? As Deathcap Story says, from what they've seen, Free League rarely misses. Sure, some of their games aren't for everyone, but they're all very high quality. Yes. And that's really all you can ask for, right? I mean, if everyone was just, there wouldn't be that much variance, right? If every game was for everybody. Yeah, so you may not like the style. Like some people don't like the mallards as the kind of duck people. It seems like a bit of a. But I know that I think that's from the original Dragonbane, and it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of fun. Would I necessarily want to have mallards in certain campaigns I'm running? No, but then in other ones, it'd be totally fine. But yeah, I mean the quality is always good, and at this point they've got all kinds of genres covered. They got all kinds of IPs. They're really kind of you want to play kind of game, and you want to, especially if you want to stay. I don't want to do D&D or anything kind of like that. Well, there's a whole avenue there for Free League, and they're Everyone I've met from them has been very nice. Not just, very nice to me, though they have been, but just nice, which, to me at least counts for something also. Hey, Jules Weber, what's up? Brian Smith says, very frowdy and goblins, their favorite flavor. Well, there you go. So we've got so here let's just see. So here we can take a look at kind of what we're getting with our, because this will probably, I'm sure, be sort of emblematic of the kind of monster template that we're gonna get here. So you have the scout, which I guess is kind of like in fourth edition. They did D&D did something I thought was pretty interesting in fourth edition. I kind of liked it and didn't like it, but they would categorize monsters and they would give them different roles. And similar you have here. So you have a scout version and a warrior version of the same goblin, which I think what I liked about it is if you're building a roster, you could have it was easy to mix and match to make your kind of encounter group, if you will. Right. Okay, I'm gonna have so many warriors. Maybe I'm gonna have so many scouts. Maybe I'll have a sergeant or a captain or some kind of big bad down there, and you could kind of mix and match. And they would all have some interesting things, different kind of little ability or just different equipment. The scouts light armored and maybe have slings, let's say. Or no, the warriors have chainmail and maybe they'll have swords and shields. And then maybe the commander type will have a halberd or a two-handed sword, something like that. And then they'll have different things. And they would the roles would tell you not only sort of fictionally kind of what they're about, but also give you a clue as to how they should best be deployed. And 4E was very tactical in terms of that stuff, or at least it wanted to be and it wanted you to be. So that stuff theoretically would be kind of important. Well, you can argue about the realities of the situation, but I like that. But the other hand, it could be. I felt like it could be too, especially when those same things they kind of also had player characters have those same kind of molds. I didn't like that as much. I felt that a little bit too, I don't know, confining, a little bit too, what's the word I'm looking for? Prescriptive of sort of what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe as a warrior, I don't want to be a defender. Maybe I want to be a damage dealer, but I still want to be a warrior. Kind of like, well, if you want to be a damage dealer, then you got to be this other thing. Um, at least if you want to sort of play, optimally. And there they put it right on their sleeve, right? But in terms of the monsters, anyhow, I like this stuff because people often it comes up. Well, one, it comes up, right? There's that whole blog that became a book that became people love. I haven't really read it, but people love, the monsters know what they're doing, which is kind of filling in that gap of here's this monster. And even though I think oftentimes if you just look at the kind of background, it should be kind of clear. To me anyway, it feels pretty clear. Like I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but an aboleth or something. Even if you might not know what the heck it is, you read its description, you read its powers. I feel like you get a pretty good sense of okay, I get how this thing probably wants to use itself, but they don't spell it out for you, and those books do. But when you could just give something like this, just say, "Hey, it's a goblin scout," then that, to me anyway, for most people, will give them enough of a, all right, boom, let's go. And here you go. Look at the typical weapons. You have a short bow. You've got a short sword. Boom, leather armor. Right, makes sense for a scout. And when you get to the warrior, they've got studded leather, so a little bit heavier armor. And they have a long spear instead of a short sword, so a little bit heavier weapon. And it makes sense. But just by giving it a little title, it just helps differentiate things. Of course, let's see. We have some notes here that goblins are not a monster. They do not count as monsters in combat, but as ordinary NPCs. They're nocturnal, and they can also be a player character. And we even get some first name and last name. So you could be Flifos Lureg if you want to, or Lutz Truli. And then let's see, they've got this ability. So I'm going to be a little bit rusty on my Dragonbane abilities, but you could spend willpower and things to use abilities. So that's why they have this willpower points, basically how much you have to spend. And so these goblins have the ability called Resilient. Goblins are resilient creatures capable of withstanding all kinds of hardships. By activating this ability, goblins get a boon on a Constitution roll. I think that's what con stands for here. For resisting poison or disease, or can make camp without rolling bushcraft. In addition, goblins can always eat raw food without falling ill. Oh, nice. So those are some pretty cool things. So it's written as one ability, but really it's a few things, right? So they can make camp without having to make a bushcraft check, which is nice. They get a boon on though they I guess they have to spend it? I guess they do have to spend it. Maybe they don't. What well, hold on. No, maybe they have to let's see. By activating this. Okay, so activating the ability. Okay, so I think all right, hold on a minute. And I'm not going to go into this much in the weeds on different monsters, but this is our first one, so it's kind of good. All right, so it seems like you when you activate the ability, you get that boon on your con roll. So presumably the referee would tell you, "Up, you've been poisoned," or you think maybe, or at least, "Hey, you better roll a con, see if you can resist some weird feeling in your bones." You can say, "All right, well, I'm going to spend a willpower point, and I'm going to use my resilient ability to kind of steel myself against this horrible thing this might be taking hold." You can also spend it to make camp without rolling bushcraft. So basically, I see it. So it's not really a freebie, but that's the second thing, right? You spend a willpower point to either get that boon on resisting poisons or disease, or being able to camp without bushcraft. Still not a bad deal. But and additionally, it seems like the thing that's always on is that you can always eat raw food without falling ill, which is also kind of a nice thing. If you need to camp without fires or things like that, or just you need to really rough it, the goblins are ready to go. All right, let's read their adventure seed, or at least the beginnings of it. See what we got here. From the darkest depths of a vast forest, small bands of goblins are setting off in raids. Successfully robbing merchants, priests, peasants, and nobles has made them bolder. So far, they have not killed anyone who put their hands in the air, but several guards have lost their lives trying to stop them. It is Gutsy herself who is behind the attacks. In the autumn of her life, her mind is stuck in memories of being betrayed and forced to hide in the woods with her companions like rats in filthy holes. Now she intends to take what she was once promised by Vizimir. Any gold the goblins scrape together is used to buy food, weapons, and equipment for the growing army. Someone must stop Gutsy before her goblins grow so strong that they pose a real threat to everyone in the area. All right, so it looks like you get somebody who's kind of on the warpath. They were betrayed. They're older. They're maybe feeling their mortality, but they decide it's time for revenge. That works. That works for me. That's goblins. We have hobgoblins. Again, I'm gonna try to pick. I'm gonna pick and choose which ones to read. If you guys see one that I'm passing over, it seems interesting, then please shout out in the chat to stop me. Hobgoblins, we get a couple different ones, so you have potential for a hobgoblin scout, and I'm sure, of course, you could add your own. But of course, these are the ones they give us: scouts, fighters, thieves. They have their ability is fearless. They also don't count as monsters. They're also nocturnal, and they also can be a player character if you wish. Now, I will read the little quote here at the top because, why not? Hobgoblins are said to be hardworking, determined, and averse to laziness. Tell that to Tootle, that drunken hobgoblin who's moved into the inn's broom closet and never does anything but drink and sleep. All right, so Fialina Rumble the Potter does not think too kindly of Tootle. Some other goblin or hobgoblin names could be Grush Amash, Klurg Plut, or Figur Hagra. Cool. And the illustrations, they have a really nice style. Let's see. Well, and did we get a random encounter last time? Oh, we did. I missed it. All right, so we'll read the random encounter from hobgoblins. Or no, let's read one for something more. Well, I'll get to one that's more different, interesting. So here we have ogres. Ogres, it seems like oh, nope, they're not monsters. They're still ordinary NPCs. They're large, nocturnal. They can also be player characters, such as Barg or Look, Araclog, or Glorm Urla. Those are all first names. I've been reading this wrong. I've been putting them together, though I suppose you could. See, put them together. Look at that. I was reading that all wrong. All right, you can have a fighter or a chieftain. And their ability, they can body slam. I'm thinking pro wrestling body slam. But I don't think any of them, I don't think they're hulking up and taking down Andre the Giants. Ogres can use their large bodies to slam an opponent with tremendous force. All right, this counts as an unarmed melee attack with a boon that inflicts 2d6 bludgeoning damage, plus any damage bonus, and cannot be parried. The ogre can also dash before the attack, but does not have to. Humanoid targets of normal size or smaller who are hit by the attack are automatically knocked down. That's more one of those off the ropes. What do they call it? A shoulder block. Definitely has a wrestling move, but I know in D&D and things they call them slam attacks. But calling it a body slam to me is like you're lifting them up and over. But still, this is pretty cool. And I like the idea that you could lean back against some invisible ropes, then dash forward and put your shoulder into it. That'd be great if there was some other thing that could do like the leapfrog over and then you run past. Of course, I might be just turning this into what would be Dragonbane the wrestling show? I don't know. Monday Night Dragonbane. Dragonbane Raw. We get orcs. What's the deal with orcs? We have warriors, shamans, and chieftains. Their ability is tough. Orcs can take extraordinary amounts of pain and keep on fighting. It's very similar to the, what is it, the half orc ability in 5th edition, I think. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe a different take on orcs. Is it just orcs and toughness? Not that I'm averse to it, but it's becoming that thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess Tolkien orcs were tough. At least the Uruk-hai were seen as sort of tough. I wonder what a different take on an orc might be. But no shade on Dragonbane. I'm just thinking that the idea of the sort of tough orc is one that's been fairly well trodden by now. Oh, Ian's got the Mallard Wrestling Federation. Very good. All right, orcs. Okay, now we're getting to the rare kin. Cat people. Okay, he's holding a knife. Raid LC says, usually it's just the organization that causes me trouble with Free League. I wonder if Dragonbane proper is better than, say, Forbidden Lands. Interesting. Raid, what's your so what about the organization do you find troublesome? I don't have my Dragonbane other books around, otherwise I would be hard pressed not to want to flip through them. But here's to what the pretty much because it's just it's a manual, a monster manual, so it's just a list of creatures. Though I think they're not in alphabetical order; they're in order by kins. So either that will be meaningful to you, or maybe not. I don't know. It probably depends if I'm looking for something I know versus looking just for something. Oh, right. Raid says rules being kind of all over the place and hard to reference. Yeah, I can't help you there. I'll try to note that for next time I'm looking at one of the rule books. We can see how they're laid out. This one, the only thing I can think of is, like I just said, if you like your monster manual type books to be alphabetical order so that you can just find what you want quickly. This one's that you probably want to ding a point off of this one because it's not ordered that way. If you like it being grouped by these kind of kins or sort of sorry a minute. Looks like the stream. There I am. Raid says, love Free League, but I was flipping so much trying to find things I could remember had a rule, but hard to find it when the time came. Yeah. I think often that's not to say that Free League's like this, but I feel like that's what I get into that with when I'm looking at the first edition DMG, AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. So much stuff, but sometimes things are not necessarily where you might expect them to be, or you have to kind of think to yourself of the three places it might be. Now, granted, the nice thing is they do have indexes and table content, so you can tend to track it down, but it can be a little bit more frustrating experience than maybe it needed to be. Okay, so we have cat people who could be a hunter or a thief. Their ability is 9 lives. Cat people have an incredible ability to emerge unscathed from even the worst of ordeals. Activating this ability grants a boon on a death roll. The ability can also be used to reduce the number of d6s rolled for fall damage by 1 per willpower up to a maximum of 3. Okay, cool. So they get kind of a 9 lives, the effect. Deathcap Story says, that reminds me, last night during D&D, we were complaining about how some things are alphabetical order and some aren't in 5th edition. It's annoying and so easy to fix. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird sometimes, but this is where like the GM system mastery, if you can get there, is helpful. But it's also, I think, where sometimes when someone has that system mastery and they're interfacing with people who don't, it can be kind of frustrating. You might read a rule and like, well, where does it say this? And they're like, oh, it's under initiative, and you're like, well, why would it be under initiative and not under like next to the ability? It's like, well, I knew it was under initiative. It's like, well, that's great if you know, not so great if you don't know. Yeah, I agree. Pick a way of doing it. And what I think like the original Monster Manual, I feel like has this where it had it in sort of multiple ways you could access, or maybe it's a later. I don't remember which version of the Monster Manual had it, where it had the alphabetical, but then it had some table somewhere else that had it by other things. So that if you were looking it up alphabetically, you had the alphabetical the main way, but then if you say you're looking at it through maybe hit dice or something else that had another way to look at it. I don't remember which version that was, but I always thought that was great. Like just adding it as an index in the back or somewhere, kind of acknowledging that people will come to the monster manual. Sometimes you're looking for a challenge of a certain, I rolled up and I need a hit die creature. And so having to flip through endlessly, just give me something that's sorted through hit dice. But then, yeah, maybe for the most part, alphabetical probably is fine. Okay, centaurs. These are a monster, I'm guessing. I like the what's that kind of banded mail? Deathcap Story says, sure, if you've been playing 5e since 2024 or 2014, we have some new players, so it's awkward. Hey, but I'm not talking from a point of system mastery. I don't have it for the edition. I'm not sure I have it for any game. I can't remember anything. Raid says the art always gets me, just gorgeous. I ordered the entire One Ring library once Moria was kickstarted. Yeah, they just and it's all and it feels very consistent and yeah, they do a great. I just hate to keep saying that they just do a great job, but they do a great job. I mean, and I'm sure there's some people. I know someone was complaining about one of the books. It might have been about Dragonbane. I don't remember, but I think what I recall is that there is someone out there who didn't like the art style, and I guess not every art style is for everybody. But yeah, it's just well made, well done. Let's see, we've got fairies also. So I guess now we're into monster categories. Maybe they're not telling us they're not monsters, right? So fairies are swarms, or they can be a swarm. Interestingly enough. Fairies fight together, and some of their monster attacks are performed by several fairies as a group. Such attacks only use up the turn in the round for one fairy. Ooh, that's that could be rough. Once half the fairies have suffered damage, they flee, but will likely come back for revenge later. Ah, that's a nice little note. And they have a bunch of attacks. You roll a d6 to see what attack might be: teasing, ping prick, blinding dust, sweet dreams, enchanted kiss, or magic arrow. That feels very Willow to me. What were the brownies with their little bag of tricks? Deathcap Story says they love the art from Symbaorum. Don't think they'll ever play it. Yeah, it's on my list of ones to check out. That one I have not read at all yet, but yeah, it feels very evocative. Terrence says, did somebody say fairies? And Raid loves Willow. Yeah, Willow's a great. I don't. I can't even. I'm sure I can't. There's no way to calculate the number of characters that were inspired by Mad Mardigan back in the day. Probably not that many Willow Offgoods or whatever his name was. I think it was Offgood. Willow Offgood, something like that. But Mad Mardigan. Everybody loved Mad Mardigan. Now we got frog people. Cool look. Raid with the quote, I stole the baby while you were taking a pee pee. Yeah. Good stuff. Let's see. Hunters or shamans. Okay. Ooh, harpies. Ooh, nice look for the harpies. I like this. It's a little bit different. A little bit different. All right. Another one that I always think of harpies as being kind of solo, but I guess they're not. I often get groups of harpies. So they say that harpies flock. They fight together, and their monster attacks are performed by several harpies as a group. These attacks. All right, so it's the kind of same rules. So they have these interesting. I guess we can see they have interesting group rules that there are attacks that the harpies might perform, and you roll a d6 to see which one it will be. But even if multiple harpies end up performing the attack, I'm sure it's not like they all attack you at once, like claw attack from 6 harpies. But whatever it is that they do all together, still only counts as one of their turns. But then, similar to the fairies, once half of them have been killed, the rest will flee, and they will return later if an opportune situation presents itself. They don't say here for revenge, though presumably it would be for revenge. Deathcap Story says they've at least twice played a Burgle Cut character. I don't remember old Burgle Cut. Oh, that's great. Who is the guy? I also did really like the guy who was the kind of honorable. Forget his name. He ends up. I'm not even gonna bother. Okay, spoiler alert. How old is Willow? If you haven't seen Willow yet, just stop the stream, go watch it, then come back. I can't remember the guy's name. He was the kind of captain of the resistance. He was always pretty cool too. I like those honorable guys. Admonishing Mad Mardigan for just fighting for himself. Is it Vunkar? Is that his name? Raid? Okay. It says they went with Forbidden Lands because of the survival aspect. Symbaroum looks great, and this is interesting too, but not far away enough from Forbidden Lands to take on Forbidden Lands version of fantasy for them to jump in. Forbidden Lands does the random table attacks. It works well in that game for us. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like this. So I guess just for me personally, I know people love the Matt Colville's kind of these monsters that do different things at different turns. I actually like this better. I don't know. Maybe it's just that different turn thing just feels too video gamey for me. What is a turn? If you have some really good attack, if it's random, I kind of I can get that aspect of it. But if it's gonna be sort of doing, I don't know, but the turn part, like if I feel like you're gonna use you should use your better attacks early on in the fight. Why would you wait until you're potentially really wounded to do it? That's one thing. Like you just might not get to do the your cool thing. Like it's even just as a player. If I wait until the last round to do my coolest thing, chances are my last round might be before, especially as a monster. Before the last round of combat, I might not get there. Um, and then it just yeah, I don't know. I just that there's that. And I just also think that you might fall into this trap of there needs to be 4 rounds of combat so I can do these 4 things. And in fact, I think when I watched the MCDM RP, like the play test or whatever they did, like I think or something they were playing and or I don't know, something they were running. And when they were getting a guy low on hit points, Colville was actually like anticipating the kind of death blow attack. Oh, now he's about to die, so he's gonna do this cool thing kind of thing. But I dislike that pretty strongly. I feel like if I'm able to short circuit and knock a guy out, he shouldn't just because to do his cool thing, just do a cool thing to me. Maybe it's I know they're going for a cinematic kind of thing, but didn't write well with me. But the random kind of attacks, I'm down with. So here's the Karkion. Oh, Vunkar was he was the what do they call the halfling? I'm talking about the human fighter guy. But yeah, Vunkar, he was good too. He was the kind of warrior. What did they call the Daikini? Is that or Daikinis the humans or what were the I don't want to call them Pecks. What were the other anyway, I was talking about the human fighter, the one who like Mad Mardigan like is imploring to get him out of the cage. Nelwyn? Okay. Have you got IMDb open rate or you just got you're just on point with your Willow knowledge? I mean, if it's the latter, I am thoroughly impressed. So here we have the Karkion, which are kind of flying cat people. I like that these are kind of written from someone's perspective. It gives a little bit of that, um, like in the D&D books, where it's not just a sort of godlike being telling you, but someone's observations. Wow, right? It says they probably only seen Star Wars more than Willow. That is impressive. I mean, I've seen Willow a ton, but there are a few movies I've seen a ton of. I'm not sure if I had to rank my most seen movies. Willow would definitely be in the upper tiers, but I don't know if it would be in the first tier. I feel like lizard people. Wait a minute, what can the Karkians be? Scholars or mages? That's interesting. And they get flight. So they have to spend willpower. So here's an interesting method if we're wondering about how you handle flight in these games, because people definitely have issues with flying characters. So in this case, for the Karkions, the bat-like wings of the Karkion allow it to move freely through the air at the same speed as on foot at the cost of 1 willpower per round. Wow. So their flight is I don't remember how many willpower points my guy had in the solo game. I feel like that's pretty, and I don't know. I don't remember how fast you get them back, but that's pretty limited. And you're only going as fast as foot, so you're not like zooming off. So people are wondering just in general how they might moderate or limits the right word, but just manage flight. That's an interesting one because I think you have so many things that you want to use your willpower points potentially for that it becomes like, ooh, I could do this, but I don't want to do it that much. And I can't go super fast or super high, really, because anything, whether I'm going up or whatever I'm doing, one round is one willpower point. That I'm going to be pretty frugal, I think, about how much I'm flying. It does. Yeah, Willow does have a ton of great quotes. Now we're on to lizard people. They could be hunters, fighters, mages, or merchants. They've got camouflage. Mermaids. Ray says they were too young to watch Conan or some of the other fantasy movies, so He-Man and Willow were their bread and butter, mixed with Castle Legos. I was done for fantasy fan through and through. Yeah, I definitely Conan. I mean, I He-Man was all right. Not that I was super. I wasn't like super old when He-Man came out, but I didn't love the modern day thing. I wish they would just let He-Man be He-Man in Eternia or wherever it was, and just did that, and not have to bring in the crossover with the kids. And gosh, I don't even remember what happens. What else happens? But yeah, Willow was great. Krull, great stuff. I didn't have I wasn't big on the Legos. I didn't have a bunch of Legos, but all right. Random encounter. So these are mermaids. They could do a harpoon throw, a spear thrust, a fishing fortune. Ooh, what's this? So fishing fortune attack. The mermaid casts the net and swims with powerful tail strokes around all opponents within 6 meters. The victims must make an evade roll, not an action, to escape the net. Those who fail are unable to move or perform actions that require body movement. Breaking free requires a successful strength roll with a bane. With a bane, others can help. Okay, so they kind of spin around and get you sort of caught up in the net. They also have a drowning attack, a wave attack, and a whirlwind. Where's the? Well, let's read the random encounter. No, I'm gonna get to. I'll save the random encounter. Terrence said they were into Crawl and Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. I don't think I know Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, or maybe I don't recall it. Crawl, I love, and I feel like Crawl actually holds up pretty well, all things considered. Some of the stuff with like the Slayers troops and like their weird not laser guns, but I love the way they die and like stuff like the stuff comes out of their body and they make those weird noises and like the aliens like released out. Some things don't entirely make sense, like the Cyclops came down to the planet, but they're not really technologically advanced, though they're really good with those trident spears, which was cool. And the idea that I mean, I don't know how many times my friend and I would kind of play it. Again, it also didn't seem totally make sense. Though they could see the day of their death, and they'll just kind of wait for it. It was just kind of always fun of like because we mix that up with we used to mix that up on purposefully with Odin's giving you give your eye for wisdom and see the day of your own death. It's just which I guess is kind of the joke or the whatever his name. What is his name? The bad guy in Krull, kind of his joke he plays on the Cyclops because they want to give their eye for wisdom, a la essentially a la Odin, and instead they see the kind of wisdom. This one thing they see is their own kind of death sort of thing. We got minotaurs. I like the look. What's he got there in his hand? Oh, it looks like like a shrunken head or a goblin head or something. Oh, rest in peace, poor goblin. They're large. They have a bull fist, a hoof kick, a horn rush, a cleaving chop, a sweeping attack, and a stomping attack. That pretty much covers all your bases. The other thing that's nice about this is you can give them a bunch of different attacks. So I imagine in some cases, I'm thinking if I was making my own monsters, right? I might not have 6 different things to do. And I could weigh them. You could also have fun with, I want to weigh how much 50% of the time they're going to do this, but maybe 1/6 of the time they're going to do something kind of crazy sort of thing. In this case, looking at the Minotaurs, is they do kind of have a bunch of things they could do if you kind of utilize all of them. Most games don't. Most games don't really have them attacking their host, but why not give them a hoof kick? Certainly, horns, rushing with their horns or attacking with their battle axe, doing these things. So it's kind of cool that you can do that. And then, of course, because it's a table, you get to roll on it, and so you don't necessarily have to feel responsible if you get some crazy sweeping attack twice in a row or anything like that. Oh, is there a good adventure seed for which one? Death Cap Stories. Which adventure seeds? Great says they dig having adventure seeds. Good touch. That's different. Always like encounter seeds. What the monster might be doing when you run into them. Yep. So we'll read the. Well, I want to kind of get something different. I'll read the Minotaur adventure seed. Maybe we can read another one down the line. I don't need to keep it to one. So the Minotaur adventure seed. Well, I'll read them both. I'll read the random encounter and then the adventure seed. So this is Minotaurs. Player characters arrive at a ford blocked by the Minotaurs Gorm and Grong. They demand tribute from anyone wishing to cross the river. 1 gold coin's worth of goods per person. The Minotaurs are quarrelsome and short-tempered, and if anyone argues with them, the situation quickly escalates. And the player characters persuade the 2 bullies to let them pass, or does fighting break out? So that's kind of fun. So there's definitely, a social aspect, a combat aspect potentially, and you can have fun with these 2 quarrelsome Minotaurs riling each other up. Oh, Death Cat Story is talking about adventure seeds in general. I see. Yep, I agree with you. So here's the adventure seed. Speaking of adventure seeds, here's the adventure seed for the Minotaurs. I wonder if they always come in pairs. The Minotaurs, Sigum and Maul, roam the region in a quest for glory, seeking to challenge the greatest fighters they can find. This is causing trouble for everyone traveling through the area, and local merchants have offered a bounty of 10 gold coins for each brother killed. Ouch. But the Jester King Harpu promises an even larger sum to anyone who captures and delivers the Minotaurs to him so they can be put on captive display for terrified onlookers. If Sigum and Maul are brought to him in chains, the bounty hunters are rewarded with 50 gold coins. Well, that doesn't seem too nice, but I suppose you could do it. Well, I like the idea these Minotaurs are roaming the countryside, challenging more people into duels to prove if they're the best fighters or not. Death Gap Story says it's nice to know how they fit in the world. They like the additional flavor and inspiration for encounters. Yep, for sure. So here we have, and just in terms of inspiration, right? So for Minotaurs, obviously this isn't the sum total of what they can do, but clearly they have a bullying aggressive kind of nature, and so them either blocking a road and demanding tribute or going off in search of glorious battles seems kind of appropriate. And we didn't even run into any. It seems like there's no concept here of the sort of maze Minotaurs, which is fine. We've had plenty of Minotaurs in labyrinths type situations. Naiads, I like it. Alluring. Come into the water, my pretty. They can enchant, they can be invisible, they're aquatic, and they're beautiful. Their attacks include strangulation, broken heart, sharp nails, drowning attack, enchanting song, and tidal wave. Cool satires. What have they got going on? So they are basically they're one that you can play as, right? Yep, you can. I think it's theme you can play. Yes, they have a raise spirits ability. Got your pan pipes, pan flute, good to go. Swan Maidens. This is definitely right out of. Isn't that in the 3 Hearts and 3 Lions? The Swan Maiden. But she is a monster, or at least she's not a playable character. She's a shapeshifter. She's got wings and swan form. Attacks are wing beat, pecking attack, swan song, flock of swans. Could have had a flock of seagulls thing going on there, but wrong bird. And there's a plane flying right overhead. You guys probably can't hear it, but man, it is so loud in my ears. Okay, pleading gaze or gift of the gods. Gift of the gods says a swan maiden casts a curse on an opponent within 10 meters. The victim suffers chaotic visions from the oldest times and must make a will roll with a bane to resist fear. And here's the random encounter for the Swan Maiden. An injured swan flies clumsily over the player characters, pursued by a small flock of harpies. Suddenly, the swan turns around and lands in the midst of the adventurers, where it turns to the young elf woman, Lorinde. The harpies attack. Lorinda does everything she can to aid the player characters in the fight and thanks them profusely if they manage to drive the beasts away. Oh, she kind of brought the trouble to the party, but at least she helps out. Oh, because like she drops in the midst of the player characters. The harpies attack, she'll try to crawl off into the bushes. Like jerk. All right. I like the idea of the swan maiden. I remember that from the book that I wanted to maybe do something with that. So that reminds me. Treekin, which I guess is the one thing with kin on the end of it that you can't be as a player character. You know, Trents, Ents, insectoids. Got ant people, led by the leader Adam Ant. Painful bite, sword of bronze. Interesting, they got bronze swords. Wrestling attack. Is that kind of a shout out to the what is it called? The Myrmidons? Myrmidons with the bronze. Achilles' men, who I think the word comes from ants, if I'm remembering. Trojan War kind of stuff, they would have had bronze swords. Stand and deliver, says Terrence. You got it. Wrestling attack. Let's say electrocution, confusing dance. Let's go start going into kind of 80s stuff. Maybe safety dance, confusing dance. Healing kiss. Sealed with a kiss. I like that they've got a pet. They give him a pet. Ooh, Beetlekin. These guys look good. Right out of an ant's life. Or what was that? An ant's? Was it? No. What was the one in ants? A Bug's Life. And there was the other one. There were two of those movies that came out almost at the same time. The Pixar one, I think, was A Bug's Life. And the other one was, I think, was just called Ant. Right? Am I remembering correctly? Or not? But anyway, we have Beetlekin, clobbering blow, double strike, bite, surprise kick, acid spit, and shattering shriek. Ants. Oh yeah, ants with the Z at the end, right? I don't miss. I do not miss that putting the Z instead of the S, like you're cool, too cool for school. Spider Kid. Oh, these look cool. Poison bite, too many eyes, ominous vision, poison sting, sticky web, hypnotizing eyes. I really like that they really have their own kind of the look. I mean, again, just the illustrations. The kind of just in the illustration way, just kind of gives it a different feel than otherwise. All right, so now we're into the land of the trolls. It was very 90s cool. You're right, putting the Z on the end of stuff. Absolutely. So we have cave trolls. This look kind of cool. Almost a little. I feel like they got a little bit of that sort of Bakshi, the Hobbit animated goblin kind of look to it. So cave trolls, stubborn, sensitive sunlight, regeneration, treasure eater. Forest trolls. Poor. Well, they're like victimizing the nightkin. The Minotaur had a night looked like a nightkin skull. This forest trolls just stepping on a poor nightkin. Why are the nightkin getting all the grief? They're catching a lot of strays. The nightkin. Deathcap sources are curious to the undead monsters. Yep, I am too, especially Living Dead because they were separate from some of the other ones, which makes me wonder what they are. Unless it's like a vampire stand-in, I suppose it could be. Mountain trolls. Oh, looks a little bit like Ogra from. Was that her name? Olgra from Dark Crystal. And giants. Ooh, these guys look cool. Forest giant. I like it. I like a different kind of look. Mountain giant. I like the purplish gray skin. And then sea giants. Oops. When I see giants, I eat them. And finally, ooh, I like that. Look at the Titan. Nice. Are they really wearing that kind of armor? Looks like they are. Huge shield. All right, beasts. Basilisk. Rook horse. Is that like a water horse? I'm guessing so. AKA a kelpie. Caledon. Oh, it's like a giant boar. Chimera. Yeah, I always got love for a chimera. Giant amoeba. Maybe a gelatinous cube or kind of ooze sort of stand in. giant octopus, giant spider. Nice. Nice. Griffin, hippogriff, hydra. That's got a little dark crystally. What was the name of that? Like the critter that was it a did they call it a hydra? That had that what was that? It was sitting in no, it was that was that weird thing right there where the trolls. Well, I got it right if you're still here. I got some more willow for you, right? It was the trolls, but they actually look like they 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 look like little Bigfoots or Sasquatches or like Land of the Lost. Uh, what's his name from Land of the Lost? And then what was it? The willow hit him with some kind of acorn, turned him to stone, but then they turned into like was it a hydra? Anyway, it looked kind of like that. A little scared. Yeah, oh yeah, those trolls and stuff. Absolutely scary. Manticore, got like a manticore. Ooh, Medusa. Is that wings or is it just an interesting sheet? Oh, she does have wings. The golden wings of the Medusa allow it to move freely through the air. Oh, that adds another because you can't. You better be inside if you're gonna hide behind some pillars. Otherwise, that Medusa is just gonna float over your head. And we got Pegasus, nice rocks, nice sea serpents, nice werewolves, nice wargs. Yes. All right, undead. Okay, ghosts. My last words are a promise and a threat. You think you'll get rid of me by this unjust execution, but I swear by my beating heart that I shall not leave this world until you are all dead. Every last one of you. Every last one. Nice. Who said this? Istmar the Butcher, condemned. All right, so ghosts, spirits who have not passed on. I like the kind of barrow. And then there's the ghost hovering out. You have some immunities, of course. Oh, interesting. Unlike other monsters, ghosts can usually be persuaded. Interesting concept. Ooh, ghouls. Looks a little bit like a young crypt keeper. They're half blind, they're cowards, and they're nocturnal. Oh, interesting. Terrence says, sir, this is a Wendy's. Yes, I like it. Anyone watch? I think you could leave with the sketch with the driver's ed, and the lady with the boxes. At one point, she's talking to herself. She's on the phone talking about crypt keeper mishandling her boxes, getting her boxes dirty. Death Cap Stories is talking to ghosts is one of their favorite D&D activities. Well, you will find that well supported then in with the Dragonbane Bestiary. Okay, Living Dead. Oh, I see. These are, I guess, zombies. My great grandfather was infected. That's what we think, anyway. Of course, he couldn't walk at the end. He always slurred his words. Smelled bad, too. But we think he died and became one of those living dead. That's Yasmira Dusk, innkeeper. Doesn't seem so. Like it seems like is that like at the end of oh, what was that movie? Where basically people are just kind of living with the dead. Shaun of the Dead, I guess. Zombies as pets. But they can headbutt you. They can have a clawing attack. They've got a diseased bite, vile vomit, an undead embrace, and an overpowering hunger. All right, so living dead are their zombies. Cool. You have mummies. I like this idea of the mummy because this really puts the mummy out in the world wandering about. This is not the mummy who's just hanging out in their sarcophagus, waiting for the lid to be opened. This guy's out there in the world looking for stuff. Mummies are as dry as tinder and take double damage from fire. That's a nice touch to call out. I mean, it's kind of implied because they're covered in wrappings, but I like that they actually call it out. You got skeletons. Ooh, another nice image. Oh, they don't. Skeletons do not count as monsters, interestingly enough. And they cannot be persuaded. You cannot persuade them. I just want to go back. It doesn't say anything about mummies not being able to be persuaded, but you can't persuade a skeleton. Then you have warriors, archers, and champions. So nice kind of three different types. Raid says Shaun of the Dead had his friend in the shed as an infected zombie. I think they played video games together. Yep. It's kind of I was thinking of that story about the innkeeper's grandfather or something. It was just kind of there. Now I get vampires, seem more like the Nosferatu types, which are good. I'm down with. Anything interesting? Escape, they're immortal. So they have mocking laughter, forceful throw, corrosive mist, hypnotic gaze, swarm of bats, and their bloodthirst. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I remember seeing Shaun of the Dead at a really cool theater ages ago. But yeah, it's been a while since I've watched that one. And now we get a white. Ooh, look at the sword that white's got. That's a blade right there. That'll go through some Witch Kings. For show. And Will the Wisps. But what is Will o Wisps in this case? It's definitely different than what I was thinking in my brain. Let's see. All right. So I've always wondered why this ghostly being was named Will o' the Wisp. It sounds so delightfully pleasant, when in fact they're anything but. These damned entities appear to be the echoes of truly vile creatures who in life enjoyed tormenting others until they met their well deserved demise in some marshland. Reanimated in spectral form, the cruelty is all that remains of their nature. As wraiths carrying beckoning lights, they continue to torment those passing through their swamps, possibly in the vain hope that the victim's terror will alleviate their own suffering. Will o' the wisps are mainly feared for their ability to lure people off their paths, causing them to fall into sinkholes or drown in bogs. But they take equal pleasure in simply scaring people out of their wits. All right, well, that's kind of interesting. Death Cap Story says, skeletons are lowly creatures. I was wondering if it would go the other route of high magic creations. Nope. But I do like in terms of skeletons, we get like this champion, so they kind of buff up. And I like that they have the archer ones because that's in like the Harryhausen kind of movies and things you see in different elements, you kind of skeletons with bows, so that's kind of a cool touch. But no, not they're not creations, just undead. We have a hatchling dragon, a young dragon, an adult dragon, and an ancient dragon. Oh, I like the ancient dragon. It's like huge. They're walking on the mountain. They don't know the mountain is the dragon. And then a lindworm. What is a lindworm? Lindworms and sea serpents evolved from degenerate dragons, period. Anyone who claims otherwise should be labeled a fool rather than a monster expert. All right, chill out. oh, she's a charlatan. Well, look at that. So, what do you really know? Still, that's cool. Kind of I don't know. It looks like these lindworms got two limbs, long tail, no wings, but still like their treasure. Clearly, now demons, blood demons, like a giant vampire bat. That makes sense. Chaos demons. Oh, this is kind of your more classical devil-looking demon. Looks like a sword with its molten runes on it, horns, bat wings. Trudvang has lindworms. Okay, cool. Fire demon. I like it. That's a cool kind of weapon. It's like a staff with a burning whatever on the end, and then a morning star kind of attachment. I don't know how you use it effectively, but it looks cool. And then golems as demons. So a little bit of a twist. They're not constructs, they're demons. And then a guardian demon. Oh, it's like an imp. It definitely looks more impressive than an imp. So sorry. I probably shouldn't call you an imp. Might be insulted. And then shadow demons. Shadow and flame. And then we get the index. And then we're done. What do you guys think? That's a good demon picture. And the index just looks really small. It's just a PDF. It just looks small. But does the job. So we get how many? I don't know. Let's see. Let's go back. I don't know how many. Whoa. Didn't mean to quite do that. Oh, get a good selection. I think a pretty good selection of stuff. Let's see. I'm not gonna count all these. So we have some, Nightkins. We have the sort of, yeah, let's if we look at kind of what we got covered. We got goblinoids, and I'm just whatever, just they call them Nightkin. Just got goblinoids. We got some other stuff. We got insect folks. We have trolls, giants. various beasts. We got some undeads, we got some dragons, some demons. So I think that's a pretty good amount to get you started. I think they have a kind of a nice twist to them, at least some of them a little bit different than maybe the D&D versions. Even the ones that aren't different, you get, adventure hooks and you get an encounter idea, get some more playable options. Ray LC says, I like it. So many games, though. I think I would try to incorporate story hooks with specific monsters into world gen tables. I mean, yeah, I suppose. I guess that's it's an interesting point, right? I guess it comes down to how they want, what clearly this book is not that, right? It's not, it's giving you encounter ideas, it's giving you story hooks, it's not giving you like world generation stuff. I mean, it's so I think it's going to be on you as the GM to take the things they're giving you and create those if you want. Braid says they like less generic monsters or more monsters with a purpose. I know, to be honest, I like both because sometimes you need a generic monster. I'm okay with generic monsters in some ways because I think generic monsters actually do a couple things. One, they just give you templates. Like people talking about in BX or similar game, right? Oh, I need something like use a bear, right? Use a bear as a template, right? It's not, the bear in and of itself is nothing. It's just a generic monster, but you can use that as a template for any kind of creature up until a certain point. And then sometimes I think you want that stuff. And then me as the GM, as the referee, I'll go and I'll add that kind of stuff on top of it. I'll do the world building around it. And then it's also nice to have things with purpose because those things with purpose can generate ideas for you when you may be running thin. I mean, I think, yeah, if I had my druthers, it'd be great to have some tables in here. Maybe I would say it would have been great to have something linking back in with that because I played that solo game and it might have been say link this in with a solo game. Maybe have even extend the solo game was kind of in this underworld kind of situation. Maybe work that in here or even have like another one that, or, maybe in the back that sort of takes some of these beasts and puts them, mixes them in a little bit. Something like that might have been cool. But it's, its core use is just giving you more monsters, and it does that. And I think it obviously very well illustrated, very well put together. But yeah, I mean, I think if I had to say like, ooh, what could I have really used for this? Sure, some extra tables, maybe some way of fitting them. I don't have a great sense of what. I have to go back and read the Dragonbane like core books. I don't have a great sense of what the overall world is like, but clearly having these, knowing which guys are doing or which things are out there doing what is certainly a help. Death Cap Stories likes the insectoids. They're kind of oddball. Yeah, it's cool. A little bit off the beaten path, right? Ant people, beetle people, the spider people, not just kind of giant spiders or giant beetles, but actual kind of humanoids of different types. I like that they give us kind of different sorts of giants. The trolls don't have different names, but they kind of look a little bit different. Yeah, I mean, the dragons, I mean, it's nice to have them, right? Especially this game called Dragonbane. And the demons are kind of cool. But yeah, I like all of it. Terrence asked if this is the game of the duck people. Yes, the mallards, Terrence. Yes, this is the game with the mallards. All right. Well, thanks so much to Free League for dropping me a digital version of the book. Raid says the tables of ability, I think, open some possibilities for solo play. Also, yeah, I mean, tables do a lot of good. I think they get overused, and I know that I mean, not that Free League would do this, but I know some folks are probably wary of some of the products, mostly kind of indie stuff or just kind of small games that come out and they're basically just a whole bunch of tables with not too much connective tissue, so to speak. Sure. I don't know that that's really what they're shooting for here. I'd have to go back and really look to see more of if their world gen is somewhere else. I just don't recall. But I remember playing through the solo experience that I really enjoyed. Man, it would be good to have some extra monsters, and this really fills that in. And presumably, once they get into doing more, campaigns or adventures, we can kind of see more of what they're doing, and maybe they'll have that kind of world gen sort of book. But yeah, if that's what if you're looking for a lot of world gen stuff, this isn't it. This is, I mean, it doesn't promise that in the back of the tin. Just know this is a monster manual basically, and that's pretty much what you're getting. Though you do get a lot of playable stuff out of this as well as monsters, but it is just a monster manual. It is a bestiary, no more, no less. Raid says Darkwing Duck. That's what I think of. Yep, it does. I mean, it definitely has a similar style. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to let you go. Thanks again to Free League. Thanks everyone who hung out. Let me know what you think. I know I went through some of the Dragonbane stuff when I did the solo play. I'll probably need to revisit. It'd be good to go back, and now that I have this a little bit fresh in mind, I'm gonna go back and revisit some stuff, see what else is out there. I have a bunch of other Free League stuff I need to get through also, so you'll probably see more of that hitting up in the stream. That's all I got for now, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.